Hello folks, and welcome back for more car leasing fun. In this month's video we've got some absolute stonking deals, and there are a few here that are almost half the price they have been earlier on in the year. Keep watching. Quick bit of housekeeping before we get started, guys. Please give the video a thumbs up. That makes a massive difference. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Right, so here we go then folks. We're going to kick things off as usual with the Bargain Hunter. As always, these are 3 plus 35 deals, meaning you pay 3 payments up front and then 35 monthly payments. So you keep the car for the first 3 years of its life and then it gets returned. And they're all 10,000 mile a year deals, okay? Right, so the Bargain Hunter, this is the cheapest car you can possibly get on a lease that I can find at the moment. It's a Dacia Sandero, or Dacia Sandero, is it? You decide. 421 quid up front and £140 a month. That's mental, isn't it? I'm sure there are less exciting vehicles available at the moment, but I can't think of many, if any. You know, it's about as bland as it gets. However, it's quite a good sized car for the money, and I guess they are that value proposition. So they might not be the best put together things, they may not be the most exciting things, but it's blooming good value for a car of that size that's brand new, isn't it? So let's have a little look at the Dacia Sandero. Obviously Dacia's Renault, so lots of familiar Renault parts knocking about in that thing. Yeah, so 420 quid up front, 140 quid a month. How bad can that be, really? Right, on to the next, and this one's the Super City car. So there we go, this one's a little Peugeot 108. It's the 1 litre 72 collection. 473 quid up front, 157.91 per month. And let's have a look at that. So 13.8 seconds, 0 to 60 is not quick, is it? 72 horsepower, top speed of 100, combines at 68.9 mpg, insurance group 8. And let's have a little look at the pictures. It's obviously a shared platform with lots and lots of different brands, and they all just put their own little spin on it. So you've got Citroen and VW and one or two others. I mean, it's the epitome of a city car, really, isn't it? Look how small it is, but you can get 4 people in it and a couple of shopping bags. A 1 litre petrol engine. You see these sort of this time last year were about 234 quid a month, down to 157. So that's a good deal, and they're in stock, so you could probably get that delivered within about a week. So that is a nice little car for that kind of money, and you don't have to wait for it, which is brilliant. Free insurance for a year and free redundancy cover. Wow, that's pretty good, isn't it? So the next one's going to be the hatchback, but I've got to warn you, it's not, strictly speaking, a hatchback. There are really good deals still around on Seat Leons. So I've had the Leon on here so many times that I really just wanted to show you something other than the Leon as the hatchback choice. But it's just a given really that the Leons are on really, really good deals, and they are good value for money. You get a decent car for your money really. So just bear that in mind, but I'm going to show you something different. The Skoda Octavia Estate. Now this one's a 1.4 TSI IV SE technology. It's the automatic, 838 quid up front and £279 a month, which I think is a cracking price. I've partnered up with Readly to give you access to over 5,000 worldwide newspapers and magazines every month for just £7.99. The best thing is there's a free trial for my viewers. Just follow the link in the description. You can cancel at any time and there's no obligation to continue and no contract to tie you in. Readly's fantastic for car magazines like What Car, Auto Express, Top Gear, and don't forget you can share these with your family on up to 5 devices in your household. Please do the free trial and help support the channel. Thanks. Let's have a look at that. So they've been as high as 528 quid a month, and back here 474, 528. It was nearly half price, isn't it? It's not far off half price, which is mental compared to where it was. Obviously it's sort of gone down in recent months and probably going to sort of level out a little bit now. 0 to 62, 7.5 seconds, 204 horsepower, 42 combined mpg, which is really good, isn't it? It's a plug-in hybrid as well. I buried the lead there, didn't I? It's the plug-in hybrid. If you're doing short trips to work every day, you could possibly run that on 100% EV. And then if you're doing longer runs, you know, keep it charged up, because otherwise that petrol engine's not going to be quite as frugal pulling all those batteries along with it. Where if you're running it as combined electric and petrol, you should return decent figures on it. So that's a really fantastic car with bags of room that's going to make a lot of real world sense for a lot of people at that price. If you think 279 quid a month, and how much you're going to save on petrol, if you've got to stick a charger in at home, get the grant, save a few quid on that, put a charger in at home, and you're probably paying, I don't know, 3-4 pence a mile, rather than maybe 12 pence a mile, 13-14 pence a mile, and you're in a brand new car that's fully taxed. What more could you want? I mean, they're not bad looking cars either, are they, the Octavias? It's not an exciting car, but it's not a bad looking car at all. And I just think at that price, it's a stonking deal. It really is. Right, now on for the crossover. We've got the Qashqai, the good old Qashqai. This one's the 1.3 Digt mild hybrid, 158 horsepower, and it's the N connector, which is sort of getting up there a little bit in the Nissan range. 29 grand the price to purchase that car, 0 to 60 9.5 seconds. It's not too shabby, is it? But you're looking at about 1,100 quid up front as your deposit, and then £293 a month. It's a £29,000 car. It's not a bad deal at all, that. Qashqais are just so popular, aren't they? They kind of invented the crossover, I guess, and it's taken off in a big way, hasn't it, the whole crossover thing? But there's a reason they're one of the most popular cars in the UK, and it's because they make a lot of practical sense to a lot of families. Decent sized boot in it, nice looking car, and 293 quid a month, job done. Right, now on to the EV, and this is one we haven't seen before, I don't think, if memory serves me right, and it's a stonking deal on it, albeit it may be a little bit left field to some of the usual choices. People immediately go to like Tesla and maybe like the ID3 and the ID4 and those kind of things. But this one's the Lexus. It's the UX300E. Okay, let's have a look what this has done price-wise. So that was at 570 back in November. Then it's at 616, now 328 a month. So just under 1,200 quid up front, £328 a month. And I haven't actually looked at this one on any other site, so you may even be able to shave another tenner a month off that if you shop around, maybe a bit more, you never know your luck. 200 mile range more or less, what is it, 196 miles, 204 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds. Now, there's some fairly mixed reviews on these out in the market, but I guess they're looking at it as a £43,000 car, because that's what it is. It's 43 grand, this car, if you were to buy it. So as a £43,000 car, does it compare well to a £43,000 something else? Maybe like a Tesla, like Tesla Model 3, you'll get one for 43 grand, sort of base spec. And it probably, I've got no doubt that the fit and finish is streets ahead of where a Tesla might be, but the rest of it's probably just not as interesting or exciting, and the performance is not as good, and the range is not as good, and that kind of thing. So the reviews have to kind of benchmark something, so that might be why they're poor. So watch your reviews, go and test drive a car, see what you think. But it's difficult to compare it in price to something else when the price you're actually going to pay for it is so dramatically different. Like a Tesla, to compete with that at the moment, probably £500 a month, £550 a month. This one's 328, right? So bear that in mind, 328 quid. I mean, it's not massively more than that Qashqai. This is a full EV, albeit with a bit of a limited range, but it's a Lexus. It's going to have a nice fit and finish. It's going to be a nice place to be, nice and refined ride. Let's have a look at this 10-second review. As is often the case with the Lexus, the UX300E rewards a thoughtful buyer prepared to think a little more laterally. In the compact SUV segment, there are cheaper full electric models than this one, some of which offer greater driving range. But this all-electric driving distance you get here will probably be sufficient for most suburban users. There are admirably few compromises in terms of interior packaging, plus a very high-quality feel. That's a very, very nice car, and it's a £43,000 car that was 600 quid a month just in May. Just a few months ago, that was 600 quid a month. It's now 328 quid a month. What have we got next? We've got the quick one. And check this bad boy out. So we've gone for a 3 Series. Once again, the Cupra Leons are are the one at the moment. So the deals on those are absolutely fantastic. But I've showed them a lot. But just know if you want something sub sort of 350 quid with 300 horsepower, Cupra Leon's probably the place to look immediately today as I'm recording this, okay? But this one's a bit more interesting, some might say. So this one's been up at 662. It did drop down to 507 at one point. 630, 620, 517 now. So £1,651 up front, £517 per month. BMW 3 Series M340i X-Drive mild hybrid, and of course it's automatic. Let's have a look. It's a fine looking car, isn't it? You've got the virtual cockpit and like a massive screen there, which is pretty nice, isn't it? So yeah, great looking car. We know 3 Series is a proper driver's car. 0 to 62, 4.4 seconds. 4.4 seconds. That's nuts, isn't it? That's proper performance. It's 3 litre petrol, 374 horsepower. Wowza. No fuel consumption figures. It is a mild hybrid, but it's 4-wheel drive. It's petrol's 3 litre engine, and it does 0 to 60 in 4.4. So don't expect great fuel economy on a car like that, in all fairness. Yeah, 1,600 quid up front, £517 a month for a car with that performance is outstanding. And we'll probably get a few people thinking about it. So next we've got the Executive, and it's not quite as big as they usually are, but it's just a fantastic value car. It's an Audi A4 Avant. It's a 35 TFSI Black Edition. Now there are also like the equivalent diesel engine around about the same price. There are loads of deals on these at the moment, and they all seem to float around that 350 quid a month. And petrol, diesel, different variants. This is a Black Edition, so it's their top trim level, the top trim level before you get to ridiculous sort of one-off editions. I think it's a good price, just over £1,000 up front, £351 a month. And it's the Avant, so you've got the nice estate boot, which is very accommodating in one of these. Again, the saloons, there's no real difference in price at the moment. It's just a few quid a month in it. So if you've got the choice between the Avant and the saloon for the same price, I would just get the Avant, because why wouldn't you? It's just extra space, and I think they look cool as well. I think some cars really suit a saloon, some suit an estate. I think the A4 looks great in either, but thinking straight away something like the Mercedes C-Class looks brilliant as a saloon, and maybe not quite so good as an estate, in my opinion. I think the A4 looks great in either guise. And let's look at the details. So this one's a 2 litre petrol, but it's 150 horsepower version. Obviously they do a higher horsepower version of the same engine, but this one's 150 horsepower, 0 to 62 in 8.9 seconds, which is respectable enough, and combined MPG of 44.1, which again is fine, isn't it? Petrol engine. The service intervals on these are decent. I think it's like 18 or 20,000 miles between services. 495 litres of boot space, because you've got that nice big Avant boot, as Audi call it. And yeah, very nice car. Fit and finish is going to be decent. There you go, all round nice package, and 350 quid a month is very reasonable, isn't it? There are still deals around on A6s, and if you want something super executive, there are some good deals around on the 7 Series BMW still as well. But obviously they're in a different sort of price category to this. You're looking more £500-600 a month. Right, onto the SUV, and we've gone for an Audi again. It's an Audi Q5. This one's the 50 TFSI E-Quattro S-Line, and it's the S-Tronic automatic gearbox, and it's plug-in hybrid, this one. And let's have a look at the stats. So 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds. 299 brake horsepower, 500 newton meters of torque. Wow. 2 litre petrol plug-in hybrid, 465 litres of boot space. And let's have a look at this beastie. That's quite a handsome devil for an SUV, isn't it? And personally, I love an Audi interior, so I like that one. So price wise, these were 635, 645. Now down to 572, so it's almost the cheapest they've been. I think, yeah, in July they were slightly cheaper, but it looks like it's going to plateau out a little bit now. But it's a good that's good value for money for the kind of car you're getting and the sort of purchase price you'd have on that. They're about 55 grand, somewhere in that region to buy. So that's decent value on a lease, really, when you look at that kind of purchase price versus the lease cost. That's decent value, isn't it? It's not too bad at all. Right, midlife crisis. So it seems the industry's not supporting those in need of a midlife crisis at the moment, because there's a shocking lack of good deals on midlife crisis cars. And a midlife crisis car should be a sporty looking car, preferably a soft top, I guess, is the ultimate. And it should be quick, or in some way vulgar, like it's, makes a rip snorting noise or something, or has huge body kits on or something like that. That to me is a midlife crisis car. And there's a shocking shortage of really good deals on those kind of cars this month. But I've found one quite special car, and I think it's worth a mention. So it's the Porsche 718 Cayman Coupe, but it's the 4 litre, it's the GT4. And the GT4 is a very special car. Now, this is one that you should potentially buy and not lease if you're in the market for such a beast. I'm going to show you a proper picture of it in a sec, by the way, because that's not a GT4, that's a standard Cayman. The reason I say you should potentially buy one of these and not lease it is because limited edition Porsches and special edition Porsches have a habit of going up dramatically in value, sometimes in the short term, but sometimes in the long term. And it may be, as a 20, 30-year investment, that this thing pays off. But have you got the money to spend on one of those and put it away for 30 years? Likewise, sometimes with some of these Porsches, the value can go up so unbelievably quickly. You can have the car for a year and sell it for a strong profit. You need to know what you're doing, really. And your mileage may vary, pardon the pun. Let's show you some proper pictures of it. So this is a GT4. This is what GT4 is all about. So very, very racy throughout. I mean, look at that. That's a fantastic looking car. What an amazing piece of design that is. I love with the Cayman how it just looks like a baby 911. It almost looks like a cartoon 911. And I think they're fantastic looking cars. And in GT4, guys, that really does look cool, in my humble opinion. It might look very uncool, but just appeals to a fat old bloke like me. We go some various sort of racy versions of it. But it's a proper car, is that one. Let's have a look at, I think 0 to 60 is 4.4 on this one. Yeah, 4.4, 420 brake horsepower. That's just a phenomenal piece of engineering. £3,000 up front and 900 quid a month. So it's not a cheap one, is it? Definitely not a cheap one. 76.5 grand if you were to buy it. Maybe it's for a midlife crisis for the more discerning customer. For the executive customer, perhaps. Okay, on to the wild card. So it's more of a mild card, this one. I think we've seen one of these on here before, but it's the Ford S-Max. It's the FEV, the 2.5 190 ST line. It's the automatic gearbox, as you would expect. 1,100 quid up front, 378 quid a month. So the reason I've put this one on is, the deal sort of plateaued out in May, but it's still a good price, 378 quid a month. Was up at like 435. So this month there's some really good deals around at the moment, but there aren't as many of them. And it seems like there are only a few, but the good deals are amazingly good. But in general, I would say there are fewer great deals than we would normally expect to see. I think with the S-Max, I think it makes a massive amount of sense if you've got a young family. So if you've got 2 kids that are still in car seats, absolutely brilliant, because you've got proper seats in that car in the back. So you could get 2 car seats and an adult in. You've then got the 2 seats that pop up in the boot as well, so you've got 7 seats if you need them. If you don't, you've got a ginormous boot where you can get small bikes and scooters and a dog and bags and spare clothes and all the kind of gubbins and a pushchair, all the kind of gubbins that you need when you leave the house with small children. You can fit in that car, and when you do need to do a journey with maybe a couple of friends or parents or anything like that, you've got space to accommodate, a couple of kids, maybe 4 adults. So they make a massive amount of sense to people with families. I say that as the owner currently, or not an owner, a leaser currently of a leaser, is that a thing? Leasee of a VW Touran 7-seater. And I've got 2 young kids. One has literally just come out of her car seat, which is great. But that's exactly why we got it. My mum was still around at the time, and we had 2 car seats in. Mum didn't drive. If we needed to take mum anywhere, we just couldn't really do it in a standard size car. Where in the VW, we got 3 proper seats in the back, so you could have 2 kids in car seats and an adult in a proper size seat. And in fairness, we may just go to another 7-seat car next time, because they're just so unbelievably practical. Because as I said, if you don't use those 2 rear seats, which we only occasionally do, you've just got a ginormous boot, and it's so useful. I don't know why more manufacturers are not still making 7-seat MPVs. It seems crazy to me, because they're just so unbelievably practical, and in many use cases make a lot more sense than an SUV, in my humble opinion. Okay, so that one's 1,100 quid up front, and then £378 a month. Not too bad, is it? Not too bad at all. So what did you think of that this month? There were some different ones in there, weren't there? It's really difficult sometimes, because the same deals come up month after month, and I'm trying to keep the videos fresh while still telling you about this, the best deals that are available. With a lot of these as well, I'm thinking of what's best bang for the buck, so there may be something cheaper or faster or whatever else, but it's my opinion of what's best bang for your buck in that particular category, okay? Please leave comments, tell me what you think, but do it constructively, won't you? And yeah, follow me on the socials and all the rest of it. The next video I'm going to do is very likely to be a review on my Audi A3 Saloon. It's the 35 TFSI S-Line. 2021 model, so keep watching for that, and that should be out sometime within the next week, I hope. What's your pick of the bunch this month? If you could have one of those cars and it fits your particular use case, which one would you go for and why? Let me know in the comments. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.